When we all heard of the deaths of leading Senior Constable Lynette Taylor, Senior Constable Kevin King, Constable Glenn Humphris and Constable Joshua Presney in Melbourne last month, it sent a shudder, I'm sure, through all of us. We all felt it. Not only Victorians, but every Australian, because we know those who wear that police uniform, wherever they do it, anywhere in the country, they stand between us and the harm that can befall any of us. Families of those police officers who serve understand this only too well. A loss during a time when we are all feeling vulnerable at this point is also felt more sharply. 4 police officers doing their duty, keeping the peace, enforcing the law, upholding the community's trust, keeping us safe. In normal times, after such a terrible event, such an awful loss, a city would stop, a state would pause. And today, representing a nation, we do that on behalf of all Australians. Instead, these times demand that we don't assemble. They require us to grieve apart, as so many Australians have had to do in recent months. One of the hardest things, I have no doubt, during this time of the COVID-19 restrictions. But Australians and Victorians did and still honoured Lynette, Kevin, Glenn and Joshua. Blue ribbons were placed on front doors, flowers were laid at police stations, 142,000 people left tributes on a memorial page. Melbourne's landmarks shone blue, while fire stations across Victoria sounded their sirens. 4 blasts for 4 fallen and brave officers. And on their last journeys home, people stood on the sides of roads, officers at attention, on overpasses, and cars pulled over because a hero was passing. And today, for a few moments here in our nation's parliament, we pause as well to remember leading Senior Constable Lynette Taylor. She served for 31 years with Victoria Police. A mother to Nathan and Alexander, who, while grieving her loss, must be so proud of her service. Lynette and her husband Stuart were building a home down the coast, looking out to Bass Strait, and that's where they were going to retire. 5 days before the tragedy, Lynette pulled over an unregistered driver. The driver had forgotten to pay because she was moving house during this difficult time. She was flustered and distressed. The driver said Lynette was kind, professional and empathetic. After a breath test was administered, Lynette gently said, "Can you go home and pay for it?" We remember also Senior Constable Kevin King, who had been with the Victoria Police for just 6 years. A father to William, James and Henry. He and his wife Sharon had been together for 35 years. Kevin was, in his family's words, a big softie who would do anything for absolutely anyone. And I can think of no better vocation and occupation that he chose than to be a police officer to fulfil that promise. He loved the Richmond Tigers, as some in this place do also. And he loved his guitar. He loved to strum in the sun. He turned 50 in February. Sharon and the boys gave him a long-awaited guitar amplifier, even though they feared the family room would be turned into a music studio. Constable Glenn Humphris moved to Victoria to begin his policing career only in 2019. He was doing his probationary training at the time of this terrible incident. Glenn was originally from the Central Coast of New South Wales and he had later moved to Newcastle. He loved the outdoors, triathlons, running, cycling, camping. He met his partner Todd 4 years ago. Their first date was on a 30-kilometre bike ride. He moved to Melbourne to support Todd, who was taking up a role with Defence. a service family, Victorian Police and our Australian Defence Forces, protecting Australia, protecting Australians. Todd accompanied Glenn's casket on the long journey back to the Hunter, travelling along the Hume under escort. Cavalcade stopped at the Murray for a repatriation ceremony, where the care of Glenn was passed over from Victorian Police to the New South Wales Police Force. A reminder that there is only one police family in Australia. And we remember Constable Joshua Presney, who was 28. He also loved music and had studied a Bachelor of Creative Industries in Melbourne. He liked playing the guitar, but after seeing how much his brother, First Constable Alex Presney, loved being a policeman, Josh changed direction. He joined Victoria Police last May and was handed his badge by his brother when he graduated in December. How proud his brother must have been. Those same hands would clutch a flag-draped coffin 6 months later. The day of the crash was only Josh's second in the highway patrol, so much ahead of him. To his family and his partner Stacey, he was creative, he was insightful. He was a loving and genuine soul. His parents said of Josh and Stacey, they were perfect for one another and had made plans for their future together. And of their own grief, Josh's parents simply said, we are broken. So today we are broken with you. Mr. Speaker, when my father passed away early this year, the member for Fowler, Chris Hayes, also the son of a police officer, graciously sent me a copy of the Police Ode. And I've taken great comfort from it, and I hope it will create the same sense for those who have lost their loved ones. It reads this: as the sun surely sets, dawn will see it arise, for service above self demands its own prize. You have fought the good fight. Life's race has been run, and peace your reward, for eternity begun. And we that are left shall never forget. Rest in peace, friend and colleague, for the sun has now set. We will remember, hasten the dawn, it says. May our brave and dedicated officers rest in peace. We owe them more than we can speak of, and may their families draw great comfort from their country's love.
I call the Honourable the Leader of the Opposition.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker, and I join with the Prime Minister in paying tribute to these Australian heroes. Constable Josh Presney, Constable Glenn Humphries, Senior Constable Kevin King, Leading Senior Constable Lynette Taylor. Hold on to their names. 4 names that were joined together as members of Victoria Police. 4 names that were joined in duty, in service, in honour. But they should never have been joined together in this way. These 4 Australians signed up to protect us. These 4 Australians who were just doing their jobs on an ordinary day, on an ordinary stretch of the Monash Freeway. 4 Australians who went to work but never came home. 4 Australians with family, with friends, with workmates. Even in the strangest of times, with the world upended all around us, what happened on that bleak April night shook the nation. Victoria Police have never experienced a greater loss of life in a single day, and the blow is felt in the heart of every single person who serves in that force. It is a blow that is felt in every police force and every law enforcement body across the nation. We can scarcely imagine their final moments. It should never have been this way. Time and again, we see our fellow Australians risking themselves for the rest of us, whether it's our firefighters, our medical workers, our defence personnel, or our police officers. They know the risks, but they go to work anyway, and for the sake of the rest of us, they put their lives on the line. It was such a cross-section of life that was taken that night. Between them, they spanned the spectrum of a police career. Josh only graduated from the academy late last year, a proud day when his badge was pinned on his uniform by his younger brother Alex, who is also a police officer. Lynette joined the force in 1989 and along the way had been awarded the National Medal, the National Police Service Medal and the Victorian Police Service Medal. Glenn brought with him a lifetime in other fields, including carpentry and sports science, and took to policing like it was just meant to be. And Kevin was described by a colleague as, and I quote, an older head with a lot of life experience who always made good judgment calls and decisions. Such different people, united in their desire to serve and to help their colleagues, to help their fellow Australians, to approach the task of enforcing the law with humanity and with empathy. Each of these 4 deaths would have affected us. For them to have all been taken together like this has hit the nation hard. And we are hit so hard because we still have that strong sense at the moment that we're all in this together. That we all have a part to play to ensure our society is everything that it can be, that we can be as good as we can be. Glenn, Lynette, Kevin and Josh were all a part of that. And even for those of us who did not have the good fortune to have known them personally, it is impossible not to feel their absence, a sense that there is now a void where there shouldn't be. While we grieve for them, we embrace those they have left behind, their families, their loved ones, their mates, and that other family each of them had, their colleagues. We can only begin to imagine their sense of loss and shock. For them, the world is turned upside down. The grief may soften in time, but it will not fade. I say to them, we cannot fill the hole in your lives. We cannot ease your anguish. We can only offer the consolation that you are in the nation's hearts. We grieve for you and your loss, not just of your loved one, but of everything in which they were a vital ingredient. We grieve for the dreams that will not be fulfilled, the music that will not be played, the phone that will not ring, the jokes, the conversations and the quiet moments that will not be shared, that joint elation that will no longer brighten the good times and the support that will no longer lighten the bad. Expressions of love that can only travel in one direction now. I turn to the words of Glenn's partner, Todd Robinson. He wore a uniform, but he was a person under that uniform. He came home to someone, and that day he didn't. Our hearts are wide open to all of you, to Todd, to Lynette's husband, Stuart Schultz, and their children, Nathan and Alex, to Kevin's wife, Sharon McKenzie, and their children, William, James and Henry, to Josh's partner, Stacey, his parents, Andrew and Belinda, and to his brother, Alex. We will remember you, Josh, Lynette, Glenn and Kevin. We will remember you for the lives you lived and the people you were. We give thanks for your service. May you all rest in peace.
As a mark of respect, I ask all present to rise in their places. I thank the House.